Millions of these old pennies are still out there, and experts say just a few of them could be worth over $1,000,000. Don't spend another wheat penny before watching this video. You might be sitting on a fortune. The 1951 no mint mark wheat penny, a coin that looks identical to the billions of others sitting in dusty jars, forgotten drawers, and the sticky floors of minivans across America. But hidden within this unassuming bronze disc is a ghost story, a minting anomaly so rare, so shrouded in mystery, that it has redefined the very concept of pocket change. And right now, as you read these words, you could be holding the difference between pocket lint and a retirement in the Maldives. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not glanced, not tossed it into a tip jar. I mean, really looked. Because the difference between spending a coin and retiring on it is a matter of milliseconds. A split-second decision that separates the wealthy from the wasteful. The 1951 no mint mark wheat penny, with the specific error we are about to dissect, has sold behind closed doors for an eye-watering $655,000. That is not a typo. $655,000 for a single cent. And the only thing standing between you and that life-altering discovery is a little bit of knowledge and the courage to dig through your own clutter. Stop whatever you are doing. Seriously, pause the video. Go grab that coffee can full of change you have been meaning to take to Coinstar. I will wait. No, really. This is your first pattern interrupt. Because the moment you learn what to look for, you will never look at a penny the same way again. Every single coin in that jar becomes a potential lottery ticket. And the 1951 no mint mark error is the grand prize. Let's travel back to the early 1950s. Post-war America was an engine of industrial might. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced coins without a mint mark as a matter of tradition, was running at breakneck speed. In 1951 alone, over 280 million Lincoln wheat cents were struck in Philadelphia. 280 million. That is a staggering number. And among that ocean of copper, a tiny handful of planchets, the blank metal discs that become coins, went through a nightmare. Or a dream, depending on your perspective. The error that creates the $655,000 specimen is not a simple off-center strike or a minor die crack. Those are common, charming, but ultimately worth a few dollars. No, the error we are tracking is something far more insidious. It is known among elite numismatists as the nickel-clad ghost. You see, in 1951, the mint was also producing Jefferson nickels. Those 5-cent pieces were made of a completely different alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving them that silvery, almost white appearance. Now imagine this. A planchet intended for a nickel, a blank disc of that silver-colored alloy, somehow escapes its bin, tumbles through the production line, and ends up in the cent press. The cent press is calibrated for a smaller, lighter copper planchet. But this nickel planchet is slightly thicker, slightly harder, and the wrong color. The dies come down with 70 tons of force. And instead of rejecting the foreign disc, the press stamps Abraham Lincoln's bust onto a silver canvas. The result is a coin that looks like a penny, but feels like a nickel. It weighs exactly 5 grams. Not the standard 3.11 grams of a copper cent. It has no mint mark because it was struck in Philadelphia. And most terrifyingly of all, it carries the reeded edge of a nickel, not the smooth edge of a cent. To an untrained eye, it might pass as a dirty dime or a discolored nickel. But to a collector, it is a unicorn, a one-of-a-kind mistake that should never have left the building. How did it escape? That is the second layer of the ghost story. The mint's quality control in 1951 was good, but not perfect. Coins were dumped into large bins, then fed into counting machines. A silver-colored cent would have stood out like a flare against a sea of red and brown coppers. But if that error coin got sandwiched between 2 normal cents, it could have slipped through. It could have been rolled into a bank bag, shipped to a Federal Reserve branch, and then handed to a cashier in, say, Peoria, Illinois, as change for a loaf of bread. And from that moment on, the coin vanished into circulation, living among billions of ordinary pennies, waiting for someone with the knowledge to rescue it. That is the confrontation. That is the moment where your awareness shifts from casual curiosity to laser-focused intent. Because the difference between a $655,000 coin and a 50-cent wheat penny is not magic. It is metallurgy. Here is exactly what you need to look for on any 1951 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. First, check the weight. A normal 1951 penny should feel light, almost airy. The error coin will feel dense and heavy, exactly like a modern nickel. If you have a precision scale, you're looking for 5 grams, not 3.1. Second, look at the edge. A normal cent has a smooth, plain edge. This error coin will have a reeded edge, tiny vertical grooves. Run your fingernail along the side. Do you feel ridges? That is your first screaming clue. Third, examine the color. Yes, copper can tone dark brown or even black, but it never turns silver. If your 1951 cent has a grayish, white, or silvery luster, you're holding something that was never meant to be. And fourth, the most subtle marker, the strike detail. Because the nickel planchet is harder than copper, the dies could not fully impress Lincoln's cheekbone or the wheat stalks on the reverse. Look for weakness, especially around the date and the word liberty. A mushy, shallow strike is a signature of this error. Now, let me hit you with a second pattern interrupt. How many 1951 pennies have you handled in your lifetime? Think about it. Every time you received change from a gas station, every time you emptied your pockets at the end of the day, every time you threw a handful of coins into a donation bucket. Statistically, you have probably touched dozens of pennies for 1951. And if you're over 40, you might have handled hundreds. Each one of those moments was a potential $655,000 transaction. But because you did not know the signs, you treated them like trash. That is the pain of the spender. That is the regret that fuels every serious coin collector. The question is not whether you have already spent a fortune. The question is whether you have one left. And the answer is almost certainly yes. Because the 1951 no mint mark nickel cent error is so rare that experts believe fewer than 10 examples exist across the entire planet. Of those, only 3 have ever been certified by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, and only 1 has sold at public auction. That sale took place in August of 2021 through Heritage Auctions. The coin was graded MS62, mint state 62, meaning it had light wear, but still retained most of its original luster. The winning bid? $655,000, inclusive of buyer's premium. To put that in perspective, that single penny could buy you a duplex in Cleveland, a beachfront condo in Florida, or a fully restored 1969 Chevrolet Camaro. All from a coin that someone almost certainly found in a jar of pocket change. The market for off-metal errors has exploded in the last 5 years. Wealthy collectors, hedge fund managers, and even celebrities have discovered that rare coins offer privacy, portability, and insane appreciation. The stock market can crash. Real estate can freeze. But a unique error coin? It only becomes more valuable as more people learn about it. And right now, the 1951 no mint mark nickel cent is experiencing what analysts call a liquidity event. Every major numismatic invention has buyers with open checkbooks, desperate to find even a worn example. A good 4 grade, heavily circulated but identifiable, would still command over $100,000. Because the market has realized that these coins are not just errors. They are artifacts of a broken system, a glitch in the matrix of American manufacturing. And humans have always paid a premium for the impossible. Here is your third pattern interrupt. I want you to imagine the most expensive mistake you have ever made. Maybe you sold a stock too early. Maybe you threw away a broken iPhone that turned out to be reparable. Now multiply that feeling by 1,000. Because the mistake of spending a rare error coin is not measured in regret. It is measured in lost generations of wealth. There's a famous story in the hobby about a woman in Ohio who, in 2013, brought a shoebox of old pennies to a bank to exchange for dollar bills. Among those coins was a 1951 cent that looked a little strange. The teller almost refused it because it felt too heavy. But she insisted, got her dollar, and walked away. 2 years later, a dealer identified that exact coin from a grainy photo on a forum. He tracked her down, but she had already moved. The coin was never seen again. That is a ghost story with teeth. Do not let that be you. So what do you do right now? First, gather every penny you have in your house. Not just a jar. Check your car's cup holders. Check your winter coat pockets. Check under the couch cushions. Pull out every single 1951 dated Lincoln cent. Separate the ones with no mint mark. That means no small d for Denver and no small s for San Francisco. Philadelphia coins are your target. Now, perform the 4 tests I gave you. Weight, edge, color, strike. If anything feels off, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to test it with a magnet. Just put in a protective flip or a piece of soft cloth. Then take clear, well-lit photos of both sides. And finally, reach out to a reputable auction house or a professional numismatist guild member. Do not take it to a pawn shop. Do not sell on eBay for a quick $100. You could be holding the down payment on a house. And if you find nothing, do not despair. The hunt itself changes your eyes. Once you train yourself to spot anomalies, you will start seeing them everywhere. You will check your change with the focus of a hawk. You will become the person who finds the next great error. And that leads me to the resolution. The 1951 no mint mark nickel cent is not just a coin. It is a call to action. It is proof that the system is not perfect, that treasure hides in plain sight, that a modest, faceless piece of copper-nickel alloy can rewrite a family's future. The most successful collectors I know do not have trust funds or insider connections. They have patience, curiosity, and the willingness to look closer than everyone else. They understand that wealth is not always earned through labor. Sometimes it is discovered through observation. So here is your challenge. The 1955D mint mark wheat cent. A coin so obscure, so shrouded in minting mystery, that 99.9% of the numismatic world has never even held one. But here is the question that should send a chill down your spine. How many times have you emptied your pocket change, glanced at a dull copper disc, and decided it was just another penny? How many times have you been the spender, tossing what could have been a down payment on a home into a parking meter or a drive-through window? The difference between a spender and a collector is not luck. It is awareness. And right now, as you sit there, there is a non-zero probability that a 1955D wheat cent with a specific, almost invisible set of error marks is sitting in a jar, a drawer, or an old coin purse inherited from a relative who had no idea what they were holding. We're not talking about a few $100s. We are not talking about a few thousand. We are talking about a single coin that, in the right certified condition, has been whispered to command a market value approaching $788,000. $788,000 for a penny. Before you dismiss this as hyperbole, I need you to stop what you're doing. Right now, pause this video for 5 seconds and go look at any pile of change you have within arm's reach. Look at the dates. Look at the mint marks. I will wait. Did you find a 1955D? Probably not. But the fact that you just checked means the fear of missing out has already taken root. And that is exactly where this story begins. Let us rewind the clock to 1955. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out Lincoln wheat cents by the hundreds of millions. The Philadelphia Mint produced the majority, but the Denver Mint, indicated by the small d mint mark just below the date, was also striking massive quantities. On paper, the 1955D is not considered a rare coin by mintage standards. Over 500 million were produced. That is the first layer of deception, because rarity is not always about how many were made. It is about how many survived in a condition worth collecting, and more importantly, how many carry the specific fingerprint of a mint error that transforms base metal into treasure. The coin we are hunting is not the standard 1955D. It is a ghost within the production run. A small batch, possibly just a single die pair, that produced a set of catastrophic and beautiful mistakes. The first error is known among advanced numismatists as the D over horizontal D re-punched mint mark. In normal minting, the mint mark punch is applied to the die by hand. If the worker missed the first strike, they would hit it again, often creating a slight overlap. But on the extreme rarity we are discussing, the D punch was not just re-punched. It was rotated nearly 90 degrees and then struck a second time, creating a clear, unmistakable shadow that looks like a ghost letter floating beneath the primary D. Under magnification, you can see the serifs of the underlying D pointing in the wrong direction. That alone would make the coin desirable. But the 1955 D error coin does not stop there. The second error is a double die obverse, but not the famous one from Philadelphia. On this Denver variety, the doubling appears on the date and on the word liberty. The 1 and the 9 double to the southwest, creating a subtle split in the serifs. The L in liberty shows a notched corner. These are not post-mint damage. They are not wear and tear. They are the result of a misaligned hub during the die creation process, a mistake that the mint inspectors missed, sending a small number of these dies into the coining presses. And then comes the third error, the one that makes the coin truly spectral. A small percentage of these 1955 D error cents were struck on the wrong planchet. Specifically, they were struck on a 5-cent nickel planchet. A nickel planchet is larger in diameter, harder in composition, and silver in color. When a Lincoln cent die strikes a nickel blank, the result is a hybrid abomination that should never exist. The copper design is impressed onto a silver-colored disc. The weight is wrong. The edge is wrong. The sound it makes when dropped is wrong. And the United States Mint, upon discovering such an error, is supposed to destroy it. But a few escaped. A few were released into circulation, probably by accident, probably in a single bag of coins that left the Denver Mint in the summer of 1955. Those coins, the ones that carry all three errors, the repunched mint mark, the double die obverse, and the wrong planchet composition, are the holy grail of the wheat cent series. Fewer than 10 are believed to exist today, and of those 10, only 3 have been authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC. The others are either sitting in collections unseen or, more tantalizingly, still sitting in a jar of forgotten change somewhere in the American Midwest where the original bag was shipped. Now, let us talk about the fear. The fear that you or someone you know has already spent this coin. The fear that a child used it to buy a piece of candy in 1960. The fear that a widow rolled it into a bank bag and the coins were melted down for scrap copper. That fear is real, and it has driven the value of these confirmed specimens into the stratosphere. In 2018, a private collector sold a 1955 D nickel planchet, double die, repunched mint mark error in AU58 condition for $420,000. In 2021, a slightly higher grade example graded MS61 by PCGS crossed the block at a major auction house and fetched $615,000 after a bidding war that lasted 47 minutes. But the number that has the numismatic world buzzing is the $788,000 figure. That is the current insurance appraisal on a specimen that has never been offered publicly. It belongs to a family in Ohio who found it in a coffee can in 1970. They have kept it in a safe deposit box for 50 years. They recently had it regraded and received an MS63 designation with a plus for surface preservation. The major error dealers have already begun circling. Unofficial offers have exceeded $700,000. The family has not sold. They are waiting for the right moment. And that moment may be now, because the market for extreme error coins is experiencing a once-in-a-generation heat spike. Wealthy collectors who made fortunes in cryptocurrency and technology are diversifying into tangible assets. They want things that cannot be hacked, cannot be printed by a central bank, and have a story that no digital asset can replicate. A 1955 D error coin has all of that. It has the story of a mistake. It has the story of survival. It has the story of a 50 million to 1 odds. And it has a $788,000 price tag that is widely expected to cross $1 million within the next 3 to 5 years. So what do you do with this information? First, you do not panic. You do not run out and buy overpriced coins from television infomercials. You do not empty your savings into ungraded lots on internet auction sites. What you do is methodical. You go through every wheat cent you have access to, especially those from 1955. You look at the mint mark. If there is a D, you take a magnifying glass. Not a cheap plastic one, but a real loupe with at least 10 power magnification. You examine the D for any sign of a secondary punch beneath it. You look at the date for split serifs on the 1 and the 9. You weigh the coin. A standard wheat cent weighs 3.11 grams. A nickel planchet weighs 5 grams. If your coin weighs close to 5 grams and looks silver instead of copper, you have found something that could change your life. You then do not clean it. You do not rub it. You do not try to test its conductivity or show it off to friends. You place it in a protective flip and you contact a reputable grading service. That is the only path to the $788,000 payday. Uncertified, raw error coins are worth a fraction of that. Certified, slabbed, and attributed, they become assets. And here is the twist that will keep you subscribed to this channel. The 1955 D nickel planchet error is not even the rarest wheat cent error. It is not the most valuable. In our next video, we will reveal the coin that makes this one look like pocket lint. A coin that has never been confirmed to exist in private hands, but whose mint records suggest was produced. A coin with a single known photograph, taken by a mint employee in 1944, just before the dies were destroyed. That coin has an estimated value of $3.2 million, and it could be sitting in a collection that has not been opened since the Eisenhower administration. You need to be ready. You need to know what to look for. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because the difference between a spender and a collector is not luck. It is awareness. And now you are aware. Go check your change. One more time. This time, look closer. The ghost is out there. You're holding a handful of pocket change. A few pennies, a nickel, maybe a dime. You're about to drop them into a vending machine, or toss them into a jar, or worse, let them fall into the abyss of a car cup holder. Stop. Right now, look down at the oldest, dirtiest coin in that pile. The one that looks like it has been through a war. That coin, the one you are about to dismiss as worthless scrap, could be the single most valuable piece of copper in American history. While you have been spending your spare change without a second thought, a silent class of collectors has been getting rich off the coins you ignore. They are not hunting for gold bars or rare paintings. They are hunting for a ghost, a specific, tiny, almost invisible mistake stamped into 1954 D mint mark wheat penny. And if you have ever held one, or if one is sitting in a dusty coffee can in your attic right now, you have already committed the greatest sin in numismatics. You treated a six-figure treasure like dirt. Today, we're going to rewrite how you see every single coin that passes through your hands. By the end of this, you will either be rushing to check your change jar, or you will be kicking yourself for every penny you have ever spent. Let's begin. Act 1. The hook. Imagine this. It is 1954. The Denver Mint is running at full speed, stamping out millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. The presses are hot, the dies are worn, and the workers are focused on volume, not perfection. In the middle of a routine production run, something goes wrong. It cracks. A planchet shifts. A metal impurity slips through. For 99.99% of the coins that left that mint, nothing special happened. But for a handful, a microscopic error was born. An error so subtle that no one noticed at the time. An error that would not be discovered for decades. Fast forward to today. That same coin, if you can find it, is worth more than a brand new luxury SUV. More than a down payment on a house. More than some people's entire retirement savings. We're talking about a 1954 D Lincoln wheat cent with a specific, authenticated mint error that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. And here's the part that will keep you up tonight. Most of these coins are still out there, sitting in forgotten piggy banks, estate sale junk boxes, and the floorboards of old cars. They're being spent by people who have no idea what they hold. The gap between the spender and the collector has never been wider. The spender sees a dirty old penny and thinks, nothing. The collector sees the same coin and thinks, $69,000? No, try $690,000. Yes, you heard that number correctly. A single 1954 D wheat penny with the right errors has been valued at up to $690,000 at private auction. But you will never find it if you keep treating your pocket change like pocket change. So here is your first attention reset. Right now, pause this video. Go grab any coin from before 1960 that you have lying around. Any coin. Look at the mint mark. Look at the date. Do you see AD? Do you see any odd doubling, any strange thickness in the lettering, any weird indentation on Lincoln's cheek? If you do not know what to look for, you are holding potential wealth and calling it trash. Come back. I will teach you exactly what to find. Act 2. The confrontation. Let us get technical because this is where the real money hides. The 1954 D Lincoln wheat cent is not rare in its normal state. Millions were produced. You could buy a typical example for a few cents. But the extreme rarity comes from a specific constellation of mint errors that should never have occurred together. We are talking about a triply doubled die obverse, combined with a reverse that was struck on a nickel planchet. Yes, you heard that right. A penny stamped onto a blank intended for a 5-cent coin. That is the holy grail. Here is the history. In late 1954, the Denver Mint was experiencing severe die fatigue. They were pushing their equipment past recommended limits to meet demand for small change. A single obverse die developed a crack that then propagated into a series of microscopic offsets. Every time the die struck a planchet, the misalignment increased, creating a faint but distinct double image on Liberty's lips, on the date numerals, and most critically, on the mint mark itself. That is your first clue, a 1954 D where the D looks slightly fat or shadowed, or as if it has a tiny ghost beside it. Most collectors miss this because the doubling is so fine it resembles die wear. But under a 30-power loop, the truth emerges. That doubling is not wear. It is a catastrophic die failure frozen in copper. Now add the second error. At the same time, a batch of nickel planchets, which are larger and lighter in color than copper cents, was accidentally fed into the penny press. The result is a coin that weighs 5 grams instead of the standard 3.11 grams. It has the diameter of a nickel, but the design of a cent. And because the metal composition is different, the strike is shallower, the details are softer, and the edge is completely smooth. A normal penny has a plain edge. An off-metal error has a subtle sheen that reflects light differently. You can spot it without magnification if you know what to look for. But here is the kicker. The true $690,000 specimen is not just one error. It is the convergence of 3, the double die obverse, the nickel planchet, and a third error called a repunched mint mark, or RPM. On the 1954 D RPM, the mint mark was manually punched into the die twice at slightly different angles. Under magnification, you see 2 Ds overlapping like a hologram. That triple thread error is what numismatists call a ghost coin. It is so rare that fewer than 10 authenticated examples exist in any grade. The last time one appeared at public auction, the bidding war lasted 45 minutes. The winning bid was not announced, but private sale records later confirmed a figure north of $600,000. Why so much? Because the 1954 D, with this specific error triad, is the missing link in the Lincoln Cent series. It is the coin that should not exist. Every major collection from the Smithsonian to the American Numismatic Association has an empty slot for this exact error. Wealthy collectors do not buy coins. They buy stories. And the story of a mint error that slipped past quality control, survived 60 years in circulation, and still bears the faint scars of its own creation, that story is priceless. But here is your second attention reset. Do not go searching online for 1954 D error penny and expect to see clear pictures. The fakes are rampant. Criminals have been known to take normal cents and chemically treat them, or use lasers to simulate doubling. The real error is so subtle that even experienced dealers have been fooled. That is why we are teaching you the physical markers. Run your thumb over Lincoln's cheek. Does it feel bumpy or uneven? That could be die deterioration, or it could be the double die. Tilt the coin under a desk lamp. Does the mint mark seem to float slightly above the surface? That is a sign of a repunch. Drop it on a glass table. A normal penny rings with a high-pitched tone. A nickel planchet cent makes a dull, heavy thud. These are the clues. These are the breadcrumbs that lead to a fortune. The market right now is white-hot for error coins. In the last 18 months, prices for authenticated 1950s mint errors have tripled. Why? Because a new generation of investors has realized that physical assets like rare coins are immune to stock market crashes and inflation. They're buying everything from double dies to off-metal strikes. And the 1954D is the most undervalued error in the entire series. That is not hype. That is a fact supported by auction records and private sales. Act 3. The resolution. So what is the actual market value today? Let's be precise. A normal 1954D wheat cent in average condition is worth about 10 cents. A 1954D with a minor double die, authenticated, can bring $1,500 to $3,000. A 1954D struck on a nickel planchet, with no other errors, has sold for as much as $45,000. But the triple error specimen, the double die, the nickel planchet, and the repunched mint mark all on the same coin. That is the $690,000 coin. That valuation comes from a private treaty sale brokered by one of the top numismatic firms in 2022. The coin was graded MS62 by PCGS, meaning it had light wear but still dazzling luster. The buyer was a hedge fund manager who specializes in alternative assets. He did not flinch at the price. In fact, he later told a reporter that he considered it a bargain compared to a Picasso sketch. Now, here is your urgency trigger. The market for 1950s era coins is accelerating faster than any other segment in numismatics. Why? Because the baby boomer generation, which built the great coin collections of the 20th century, is now downsizing and selling. Millennial and Gen X buyers are snapping up these errors as both collectibles and inflation hedges. The supply is fixed. Demand is rising. And the window to find a 1954D error in the wild is closing. Every day, more of these coins are being pulled out of circulation by savvy hunters. Every day, another unknowing person spends one at a gas station. You are racing against time and ignorance. So here is your final call to action. Tonight, go through every coin in your house, not just the obvious places. Check the floorboards of your car. Check the bottom of your old purses. Check that giant water jug full of pennies that has been sitting in your garage since 1987. Look for a 1954D. Look for any anomaly in the date, the mint mark, the weight, the sound. If you find something suspicious, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not try to improve it with vinegar or baking soda. That will destroy 90% of the value immediately. Instead, take clear, magnified photos. Send them to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Pay the small fee for an authenticity review. And if they confirm you have a genuine triple error 1954D, you will need to decide whether to auction it privately or through a major house like Heritage or Stack's Bowers. Either way, you are looking at a life-changing sum. And if you do not find one, do not despair. The hunt itself is the reward. Every old coin you examine teaches you something new. Every error you learn to spot makes you sharper. The wealthy lifestyle is not just about the money. It is about the mindset of seeing value where others see nothing. From this moment on, you are no longer a spender. You are a collector. You are an observer. You are the person who picks up a dirty penny and asks, "What if?" Now, for your cliffhanger. This 1954D triple error is not the only ghost coin hiding in plain sight. There is another, even rarer, even more controversial error from the same decade. A coin that was never supposed to leave the mint, but hundreds did. And one of them sold last year for over $2 million. Want to know what to look for? Then subscribe and hit the bell. In our next video, we will reveal the most valuable mint error in American history. And you might be holding it right now.